Hey guys, welcome back to the video. It's your Midwest girl, Olivia Valadez. I am going to make at least a part one today of the video that I have been saying I'm going to make. It's just so much goes into this, and so I feel like I don't know where to even begin. Alaska is such a huge part of my life, even though I was only there for a short period of time, and there is so many layers to it. I can't even describe it. Like when I would come back to visit, while I lived there, people would ask me how it is, what I like, what I don't like, that type of thing. And I couldn't begin to describe it because it's so vast and foreign and just different. And we see a lot of it on the Discovery Channel or like on TV, but to live it is a whole separate thing. Also, mind you, when I lived in Alaska, I lived on a very small island called Kodiak Island. It's one of the islands that are underneath, that scoops underneath Alaska. So let's start from the beginning, and I'll at least give you a part one today. I might have to do a part two. If I can get through it all, then I will. I will try to figure out how to insert pictures on the screen as I tell stories, and I will do my best to do that. If not, I will have to number the photos and just dump them, do a photo dump at the end, because I do know how to attach photos at the end of a video. But like I said, I'm learning. It's taking some time, so just bear with me if you would. So for starters, how did I get to Kodiak Island, Alaska? I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas, so it was quite a jump to go from one to the other. I was graduating in elementary education at K-State, but I was a 4.5 year student. So that last semester I had to come back in the fall and finish that out. The summer before that, which was summer of 2016, which is crazy that this was a decade ago. I can't believe how time has flown by. And I met an incredible woman named Rosie through my sister. Her and Rosie were friends first, and then I took Rosie as my own friend as well. She's friends with both my sister and I till this day. And Rosie will play a part in my Texas story later. So I've had the opportunity to live with her twice throughout my life. I have had, you will soon find out, lots of roommates, lived lots of places, been in crazy living situations, but I will say Alaska takes the cake through and through. So Rosie was family studies, I believe, and she was older than me, so she was already graduated from K-State and had connections to Kodiak Island, Alaska, and was already a lead teacher at a preschool up there. And she invited me to come and volunteer for summer of 16, and I was like, you know what, that would look really good on my resume, and this will be a great opportunity. At the time, my 23-year-old, well, 22 at the time, 22-year-old self had a whole plan in her head, and that was that I was gonna simply graduate K-State. I knew this from the time I was 18. I was gonna graduate from K-State, I was gonna move to Fort Myers Beach, Florida, and I was going to live by the beach and live my fabulous young 20-something life there. That was my absolute plan. Like, from the moment I graduated high school and I went to Florida for the first time, I was like, I want to move there. I know, crazy. We can get into all that in a separate video. But I went up to Alaska and I ended up volunteering at the kids camp there for the summer. It was such an incredible experience. On the island, keep in mind, I am not in mainland Alaska. It is called a temperate rainforest where we were at. So it rains a lot there. It's just like Seattle, Washington. It's overcast a lot. Sometimes it will be cloudy 8 out of 10 days, 9 out of 10 days. It is a very kind of gloomy area, but oh my gosh, when the sun shines, it is gorgeous there. Again, I'll try to insert a picture here or a couple pictures here of what it looks like there. So, oh gosh, there's just so much to go over. So I go for the summer, and while I'm there, my sister and my dad decide to come visit me. My mom was unable to at the time, but she will come visit later on down the line. So we were volunteering at a mission. And what I mean by that is, just like churches go on mission trips, there was a mission, I think from the Baptist church, that went there a long time ago, and they realized that the need of this island was so intense that they wanted to make a permanent property, buy property, and have a permanent, like, basically grounds where they were continuously doing charity and work and school and camps for the summer for the kids in the area. And so I was able to go there. Now, keep in mind, I did not grow up Baptist. I did grow up in the church, but very like non-denominational. So I was a little bit concerned about that, how strict the rules would be and everything. And for the summer, no one, whether they were 21 or not, was supposed to be going out or drinking. So we kept it together through the summer. I had a blast. I had so much fun with the kids. I come back to K-State for my final semester, which is in Manhattan, Kansas. And I go ahead and I finish. I'm starting my final semester of school, and Rosie calls me and goes, "Hey, the principal of this school really liked how you were. I told her your elementary education. She wants you to come work here, like full time. She wants to offer you a job, basically." And I'm like, if you know anything about me, or as you get to know me, you'll learn, once I have a plan in my head, baby, I'm gonna make that happen. I'm gonna execute, okay? It does not matter how long. It doesn't matter if I don't have the resources. It doesn't matter what it takes. If I am motivated to do something, I'm doing it. That's point blank how I am. So I'm like, I'm going to Florida. Like, you're just gonna have to tell her I'm not supposed to do it. So Rosie tells the principal, Kelly is her name, that I'm unable to take the job, unfortunately, and that I had other plans post-college. And so I'm minding my own business, okay? And I'm in Manhattan. I think I came back a little bit early, actually, in summer of 16. I had to have, because I know the students were not back yet. And so I already had this job offer actually before the semester came about. Go with me here. Remember, guys, this is a decade ago. I've been through a lot of other things since then. So I remember I get the job offer. I tell Rosie to let her know that I politely decline. And then my roommate at the time, me and Lindsay's roommate, actually, we lived together in college, Sam, is working at the bar. And in the summertime, at the bars, the business is slower. It's just way, way calmer than it is during the school year. So I could go to the bar while Sam was bartending in the summertime and sit at the bar and chat with her for like her shift or part of it. So I was there. The bar she worked at the time was 1863. And I sat down, I'm talking to her. Another guy comes in, sits a couple of like stools away. And I remember looking over at him and saying like, "Hey, how are you?" Because it was just quiet. It was just a very chill evening. Like I said, students are not quite back yet. School probably starts in another week or two or something like that. And he ends up telling me that he is from Alaska. And then I remember being like, "Oh, that's cool. Like I went there this summer. I volunteered most of the summer, and now I'm back here finishing up my last like semester or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I did not tell him on my life. I did not tell this guy that I got this job offer and then I turned it down. And he just looks at me and he goes, "So are you gonna move there?" I felt like this guy crawled into my brain and figured out what was going on and just like randomly asked this question. And I felt honestly like invaded. I was like, "What makes you think that?" And he's like, "I mean, don't you have connections there now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I have other plans." And I think he was just like, "So it's Alaska." And I was like, I think I kind of got like low-key offended, to be honest. And I was like, you know what? I think we're done here. And I just remember kind of just being like, this person doesn't know me. He has no right to be asking me these questions. Like, get out of my brain, basically. So I go home. It was fine. I wasn't like rude or anything, but I just was like, this is so weird. Like, whatever. I would never do that. I'm moving somewhere tropical. I'm gonna live by the beach. I'm gonna be young in my 20s. I'm gonna live that like Miami life. Really, Fort Myers Beach, Gulf side, not Miami, but it's 3 hours apart from end to end on Florida. It's only 3 hours to drive from Fort Myers to Miami. So I was like, I've got other plans. I know exactly what I'm doing with my life. And then I remember, oh, if anybody knows, shout out, like, comment below. But there was this bull riding show on Netflix, and I remember this moment vividly. This is a moment of divine intervention for sure. And I'm watching this bull riding show on Netflix, and it's a reality show. It's just like Drive to Survive is, or like Last Chance U is, or anything like that. And I remember pausing the show and just getting this overwhelming feeling of like a whisper in my ear, almost, of like, you have to go. Like, it gives me goosebumps now. And I thought, what? Like, I have this whole plan. I have this grand plan of what I'm gonna do post-college. I specifically come to college to get my degree. I didn't want to fall in love. I didn't want to be in like a relationship that was gonna hold me back from my dream of going to Florida. Like, I wanted to make sure that I did this no matter what. And my grandma and I committed to it together. And then she passed away, unfortunately, before I finished college, that's a whole thing. I love you, Momo. I miss you till this day. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, I think I have to do this. So I like talked to my dad about it. I talked to my aunt about it. And I just start going over in my head, like, can I really do this? I'll do it for just like a year. I'll just do it for like a year or two, and then I'll go to Florida after. Like, that's what I'll do. That's my new plan. And then I start scrambling because I'm like, what if they've given the job to somebody else? Like, I don't even know if I have this job offer anymore. So I start calling Rosie throughout the days. And mind you, Alaska's, Kodiak Island, specifically, is 3 hours behind us. So I would have to wait till like 11 a.m. in Central Time to call, and it would be 8 a.m. in like Alaska. So I start calling Rosie. I'm like, I know this sounds crazy, but like, I've changed my mind. She's over the moon. She's so excited. She's like, no way, because she has been up there. Of course, she's made friends, but somebody from home is trying to come up there. So she's really wanting this to happen. So I am like, you have to tell Kelly, like, never mind. I've changed my mind. Like, I have to do this now. Like, I can feel this. This is so important. If she wants to know my reasoning, if she wants to know if I'm seriously committed, like, I will do whatever it takes. And she's like, okay, well, it is the beginning of the school year. So Kelly is busy trying to get everything set up, organized, enrollment. You guys know how it is. It's a whole thing. And switch from camp mode to school mode. And I am like metaphorically biting my nails by the freaking phone. And now I think that I have lost my opportunity to go to Alaska. You guys, at 23 years old, I am like, you've ruined it. She's absolutely interviewed other people. They're not an idiot, so they're gonna take up this opportunity because it just doesn't come along very often. So I am just on the edge all the time. I can feel spiritually, this is like what I'm supposed to do. I have like this different, I just get really deep. I have very meaningful dreams at times. I have like this certain spirits and connection to God. It sounds crazy, and it is crazy sometimes. And you can believe me or not, but I could just feel it in my soul. I'm like, I have to do this now. So finally, Kelly, I think, told Rosie she was willing to interview me. The spot was still open. And it's one of the most relieved I've ever been in my entire life. And so I talked to Kelly. She basically lets me know you're not going to be paid much because this mission almost runs like a nonprofit. It is technically a for-profit, the school, but they cannot pay like other districts and schools can pay in Alaska. If you are a teacher and you've gone to Alaska, you know they can pay you very good. 6 figures back in 2016 was some of the pays that I heard about. Not this place. This was going to be basically you go because you want the experience, you're going because you're dedicated to this, and they have a campus so you can live on campus, which is what I chose to do. So I wouldn't have to pay for housing off of campus. And then in addition to that, you work on that campus and you're around other people who you work with. So this is like a full-time year kind of camp situation. I know what you're thinking, okay? But at 23, when you want to have a wild adventure, you start jumping into things that you just would not do in your 30s. So here we are, folks, okay? Here we are. So I graduate, and within 30 days, I'm moving to Alaska. I graduated December 10th of 16. And by, I think, the 30th of December, I'm on a plane and I'm flying out to Alaska. So it goes Kansas, you can fly out, of course, multiple ways. Kansas, Seattle, Anchorage, and then Anchorage to Kodiak Island, because that's a smaller plane. So I get to Alaska. This lighting's probably not gonna be the best. Oh well, what are you gonna do, folks? Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. So I get to Alaska and I'm so excited to be there. And I'm talking to Rosie. We're trying to figure out our rooming situation. We live in an all girls house. She's getting me used to the island. She's letting me know there's a Coast Guard base here. She's letting me know that the Navy, she's also letting me know that the Navy SEALs from San Diego come up there specifically to Kodiak and train some of, or I guess they always go up there to do training. So that is so cool. She's like, it's very hard to catch them. They only drive white Chevy Silverados, and they're unmarked. They're very discreet. I could get into a whole story time about the Navy SEALs, you guys. I should do a story time over that. Shout out to SEAL Team 3, who was in training when I was there in 2017. You guys were a really, really fun time. So she's just telling me everything. She's talking to me about Pushki. Pushki's a plant there that has this like oil on it, and if it gets on your skin, it's worse than poison ivy. It will make you itch and just destroy your skin from how bad it itches. It lasts for weeks. She's telling me about that. She's talking about the native Kodiak Island bears. She's taking me to Java Flats. She's taking me to Flyaway Coffee House. She's taking me to, what's the sushi place there? I think it's Hana. Kodiak Hana restaurant. It's so hard. Again, I haven't been there in so long. And then we would go to the cultures that integrated to Kodiak Island are just wild. There are so many different layers there. They have bunkers from World War II because they were worried the Japanese were going to try to bomb us and enter the United States from Alaska because it was so much closer to Asia than any other part of the United States. So there's these old like concrete bunkers there. I don't think I have pictures of them. I'll have to check and see and insert them somewhere in here if I do have pictures of them. And they would have military men stay on guard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for, I think, a couple years in there because they were so worried the Japanese were going to enter from Kodiak Island and then try to invade America from there. I think it also possibly happened post Pearl Harbor. I will check and correct possibly on the screen. There's just so many. It is the weirdest, most craziest place I've ever been. There is a space launch pad there that is abandoned and no longer functioning. They have anything from wild horses to the Kodiak Island bears to the sea lions, crab fishermen port there. So the crab fishermen come in from Dutch Harbor. You guys know, if you've watched Deadliest Catch, that's the furthest point out that is civilized enough to handle the infrastructure of fishing. So I'm not saying that there's not further islands out with civilization, but that's the one that can handle, that's furthest out to sea, that can handle the fishing infrastructure. So the fishermen will come to Dutch Harbor, and then they will come to Kodiak Island to get like groceries and goods and things like that. They are, shout out to the crab fishermen. Y'all are some hustlers. You guys are some of the toughest men in the whole world. I actually ended up dating a crab fisherman when I lived in Alaska, which again is a whole other story. Very interesting. What a rugged lifestyle. It's truly one of the hardest jobs on the planet. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's just so much to go over. So I get to, I can't remember the exact, was it 1644 Reznov Drive? It was off of Reznov Drive, the mission is off Reznov Drive. And I start getting in the groove of teaching, and Rosie did a great job of helping me prepare. Mind you, I am teaching preschool. Preschool is, and was not then even, my first choice of age group, but that's the only school they had on the campus. If you were gonna go to elementary or middle or high school, you were going to like the public schools on the island. So I was teaching preschool, and they were a hoot. It was just such an adjustment, because when I student taught for 3rd grade, and I was getting paid, you guys, $11 an hour. But each hour, $2 was taken out for my rent. So I was technically getting paid $9 an hour, because they were taking that out of my paycheck automatically. So I wouldn't have to like actually pay rent by living on the campus, because they were already pulling it out of my paycheck. So I was really only making $9 an hour. Okay, is that right? $9 an hour times 8 hours a day times 5 days a week. Yep, I was making $360. We were getting paid every 2 weeks. I was making like $600 like every 2 weeks, $630. Because think about taxes too. So like account for taxes, I think it's $720. Is that right? Yeah, it's $720 before taxes. So after taxes, I bet I was taking home $580. But I was taking home $580 every 2 weeks. You want to talk about being broke, baby? I was broke. I thought I was broke in college. No. Alaska said, hold my beer to how broke I was in college. Okay, college was rowing your boat merrily down the frickin' stream. Alaska was freaking white paddling upstream, okay, petrified. And also keep in mind at the time, let me just give you some context on this. Oh my gosh, we're already at like 25 minutes. When I moved to Alaska, I would definitely say more high maintenance than I am now. I'm better than I used to be, for sure, but I was girly and I love glam. I loved like just anything, style, fashion, makeup, and I like more rugged things too. I do both. I can be both. I'll show you a picture of me here climbing up a damn mountain, because there wasn't anything to do except outside activities, y'all. Okay, this was like putting Mexican Barbie in the most freaking remote state. Okay, we're talking the last frontier. I wanted to be like in a convertible riding around with my hair like done and enjoying life, you know, a nice bag, a nice dinner. No, honey, okay? When I got my butt to Alaska, Alaska made it clear Alaska's Alaska regardless of who you are. Y'all should have seen me. I'll get to how I was there, but I was culture shocked, to say the least, and really just geographically shocked. The way people function and live, it's all practicality there. If you have a vehicle and your windshield cracks, baby, you ain't fixing it because you're on an island. It's triple the cost to fix it. Unless you're very wealthy, a home here that would be basic, maybe a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom home, 1 full bath, and have old appliances like the coil stove or the microwave that sits on the counter that's not up in the, like, you know, up in the cabinets like that, or a white fridge with no ice maker or water. Baby, that was first class in Alaska, okay? Because everything was so incredibly expensive. Because think about it, if you're on this island, either it has to come by boat or it has to come by plane. So groceries were outrageous. Now, mind you, they did feed us dinner each night if we wanted to go to family dinner, which was down at the, I think it was like the chapel or something like that. This sounds a little culty. It's really, truly not. I was a little worried myself, but baby, I'm here and don't worry about it, okay? And I did my fair share of having fun in Alaska. But so I go to family dinner each night. So on weeknights, our dinners were covered. Now, the rest of the meals and everything was up to us to buy. Now, mind you, I lived in community living. I'm gonna go off of what I remember the most. I moved into Air at first, Air Cottage, which is just a house, basically. And then we moved in from Air to McWhinney. And that's where I spent most of my time in Alaska, in McWhinney. And I lived with, it was me, Mare, Jordan, Rosie, and Kelsey was there for a little bit. So there was 5 of us in a 4-bedroom, tiny apartment. The top floor of this house was cut off. And what I mean by that is you couldn't walk to the middle floor or the basement. 3 different families or 3 different groups, however you want to say it, lived in this house. Top floor was the all girls floor, okay? So in the top floor of, I think it was McWhinney. In the top floor of McWhinney, it was 5 girls at first, living in a 4-bedroom, tiny space, okay? We were on bunk beds. We were cramming our stuff into every single space we possibly could. And then in the middle floor, there was a family, a husband, wife, and then they had a newborn baby. And on the bottom floor was another family, a husband and wife with a newborn baby as well. So keep in mind, for the most part, eventually we did get our own rooms in McWhinney Cottage because Kelsey got married and moved out, I believe. I think that's how it worked. So we had one washer? I think it was 2 washers and 1 dryer, or 1 washer and 1 dryer for the entire household, y'all. Okay? The entire freaking household. And that means it's that 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 people. Okay? And 2 of those humans were newborn babies, and their moms decided they wanted to use cloth diapers. Also, when you transferred over laundry from the washer to the dryer wouldn't freaking dry, okay? The dryer did not dry well. Now, when I tell you that everything, and I mean everything in Alaska on Kodiak Island, is jank as heck, it is, okay? Old, ratchet, jerry-rigged together, okay? And it's never gonna get fixed. That's just the way it is there. I rode in somebody's car one time. You had to clamp the freaking wrench to get out of the car, okay? There was no panel on the door. That's just the way it is there because they are survivors. They live and do things completely different than we do here in the Midwest. So I remember just being like, what is going on? Like, why is life like this? Okay. Mind you, also, we had live animals because this was a farmstead as well on our property. So we have live goats, cows. I think they had chickens, horses, which I love the horses. I loved horseback riding. And then we were also off of a beach. Mission Beach actually is what we called it because it was the Mission had oceanfront property, which is incredible. Again, I will try to insert pictures if I can here, or even a short video if I can. Gosh, This is gonna be so long, guys. And it was just an absolute whirlwind of a time. And I'm trying to be glamorous. I'm trying to keep my hair done. It's windy. It's raining all the freaking time. The kids are muddy and silly. And you know how kids are. They're just messy. Life is messy out there. And I am getting a run for my money, okay? Mind you, I showed up in summer. Well, I actually showed up in winter because it was December when I showed up. And so it is dark majority of the time. It's not as dark as it can get up in northern Alaska, but it is still very dark, okay? So I'm struggling with my mental health. I'm struggling with have lived somewhere where I understood everything. I had college on lock by the time I was done, okay? We had a routine. We knew what nights we were going out. We knew what we're doing next. We knew where we're gonna eat. We understood. We had that down. So it was a huge transition for me to then be in a place I'm not familiar with. It's all outdoors activities if you're gonna do anything. And I felt so isolated, not only from like my friends and family back home, but from the rest of the United States. You know why? Because I was, y'all. It was a shock to the system, okay? I'm trying to adjust to this. It's dark a lot. The leaders on campus, or the elders, whatever you want to call them, definitely heavily influenced that they did not want us going out to the bars all the time or do anything. Now, mind you, it's rainy, it's cloudy often, and all of the activities to do are outside. Hiking, climbing mountains, kayaking, horseback riding, going on hikes. Like if you're not gonna climb a mountain, difference between hiking and climbing mountains. What else could we do? Oh, if you're gonna go biking, if you're gonna do anything like that, it's all outdoors activities. So y'all, what do you think I wanted to do at 23 when it's been raining for the past 5 days? I want to hit the bar, okay? So shout out to my girls who lived with me. They were so supportive of me. I was still in my wild phase. I wanted to be free. I wanted to enjoy life. I wanted to be out and meet other people. So I will wrap up part 1 here, but I'm gonna finish up by talking about bar life in Kodiak Island. Oh my gosh. Okay, the coolest tradition they have is every bar you walk into on the island, which is, I think there was like 5 when I was there, mind you. Okay, each bar in Kodiak Island has a bell when you walk in or around the bar somewhere. And if somebody rings the bell, that means they just bought a round on them for everybody in the bar, okay? So it was so cool when I was out. I think Bernie's was my first bell. Shout out to Bernie's. Oh, I love that ratchet little bar. And we'd be going out. I got the girls to go out with me for a while, but then eventually they didn't want to. And so I made a friend outside of the mission. Her name was Olivia. Shout out Olivia. And we were double trouble. We were both Olivias. They saw us coming all the time. That's what they always called us there. We had the best time tearing it up, okay? So that was the first time I was at a bar and the bell rings and I'm like, what is that? What does that even mean? And I think Rosie was maybe there that time, and she's like, that just means that somebody just bought everybody around, either of shots or drinks or whatever it is. So I will, if I can, insert the video at the end of this line of drinks or shots. It was so cool. I was like, what is going on? Also at the bars, at one, I'm trying to think of what the name of this was. And it was way out on the outskirts of town. And they would do a shot ski. I had never done a shot ski. I'd never even heard of a shot ski. Now, some of you may have, but my first shot ski was in Alaska, okay? Which is truly a ski that you would snow ski on or water ski on. And there are shot glasses glued down to this shot ski, maybe 3 or 4. And they pour the alcohol in the shot glasses, and then everybody picks up the ski, okay, from the bottom like this, and then you count down from like 3 or whatever, and you all take a shot of alcohol, and somebody's next to you and somebody's next to them and somebody's next to you over here at the same time. of a shot. That's why it's called a shot ski. That was so crazy. And that was my induction into Kodiak/Alaska life. Okay. It was just crazy and also very desolate at the same time. I was very bored a lot of the time. There was a lot of struggle for me mentally because I'm a sunshine girl. I wanted to move to Sunshine State. I love the sun. I love summer. I love being outside. I like any vitamin D, okay? So it was a huge adjustment. I think I'm gonna wrap up part 1 right here. I would love to hear questions about what you guys have to ask about living in Alaska. Of course, I'm limited on what I can say about the kids there, but I could definitely tell stories. And there's just so many different topics I'd like to touch on. I'm gonna make the next video about the Navy SEALs because that was really cool to hang out with some of the Navy SEALs. And that's gonna do it for today, guys. Until next time, sending love from your Midwest.
Because he didn't want to get a cab home yet. But luckily I could.